One mic.
All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One mic with Big Mike.
You know, ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah, I Banged Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host,
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
Welcome into a Hump Day edition of One Mic with Big Mike. Big Mike here with you. As always, I appreciate you guys, whoever you are, for joining me out there. Make sure you guys step on in the live interactive chat room right here on Spreaker.com is where I'm being heard. Tell your friends it's SPREAKER.com, or they do have an app for all of your mobile devices, whether you have a Windows phone, an Android phone, or an Apple device. Anything you use, tablet or phone, you guys can download that Spreaker app and join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 until, I don't know how long I'm going to go today. You know, I'm not feeling real well, but, I had some stuff to get off my chest. As I just mentioned, the show is every other day. So the stuff that happens if it happens late Monday, like the Cavs getting it pushed way in by the Warriors, I don't get to talk about it until 2 days later. So I'll hit that a little bit today, not, too extensive because it's old news at this point. In order to follow me on Spreaker, which I do advise that you do, make sure you sign up for your free Spreaker account, just like Facebook or Tumblr or Twitter or any other social media account. You sign up, it's free, and then you search for my show, the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE. You can also use that same handle for my Twitter and my Instagram, and on Facebook, basically the same, but you have to spell the number out. So it's ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. Speaking of the Warriors, they got the Bulls tonight. So I've had this Bulls kind of topic on my notes for days now. For a couple of shows now. The Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose thing, and not necessarily any type of controversial way. Just some questions that I had, some things that I thought about as it relates to those two in their relationship, and we'll get to see that play out a little bit today on ESPN. Hawks got the late game tonight on ESPN. National game against Dame Lillard and the boys. Last time the Hawks saw the Trailblazers, it was here in Atlanta, and Lillard didn't play, so he's one of my favorite players to watch play basketball, so we get to see him play him face off against Jeff Teague and Dennis Schroeder, the Atlanta Hawks backcourt tandem or point guard tandem. But yeah, don't forget, make sure I get all the business out of the way. You guys can hear the show after the show via the Spreaker app or the Spreaker website. All the shows are saved and podcasted in order as they have been recorded. So the newest ones will be at the top, and it goes all the way back to November as far as I know. I hadn't checked that, but I'm pretty sure because they give you a certain amount of a certain amount of gigabytes that you can use, and I've used at this point 15% of my time. So everything I do is being stored on the Spreaker site, so you guys can go back as far as you want to and check your boy out. I found out today, and I didn't get an answer to the question that I asked, but I was going back and forth, was having a conversation of sorts with a guy on Facebook today, and he told me that I sound like the guy that does late nights and overnights at my old station. Now, I did some late nights and I did some overnights, but that was like a year and a half ago. So now he's got me wondering, and I don't and haven't, didn't listen to the station when I was there. But I'm starting to wonder if there's somebody there that sounds like me, which sucks for them, but whatever. It's weird. So I'm gonna ask somebody that I know. I think my former partner, Rob Calloway, I think he listens to the station from time to time. So I'll ask him if the guy who I was speaking with was referring to me, but just referring to me a long time ago, or there is a Big Mike clone on local sports radio here in Atlanta doing the same shifts that I did. It seems kind of ironic to me, but I'll find. I'll get to the bottom of it. Also, YouTube is still popping. Not the video portion, but all of the shows, the audio for the shows is saved on YouTube as well. If you guys are one of those people who just troll or patrol YouTube for content, you can check me out there as well. I guess it's the same thing. One Mic with Big Mike. I'm giving you a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff that I have really no idea of how it in particularly works, but it's there. As far as tonight goes, tonight, you guys remember, I keep mentioning this. We're going to hopefully wrap up this Oscar talk, because some other things came out. Like, the minute I got off, I finished the show on Monday. I'm looking at my social media, and I'm wondering, what the hell is everybody talking about? People complimenting, like, Aunt Viv. I'm wondering if it's like J. Cole did something, because, he got the part in the song where he said some of that dark-skinned Aunt Viv love. But apparently that's not what it is. Her name is Janet Hubert, by the way, in case you didn't know, not Aunt Viv. But, to be descriptive, the dark-skinned, the first version of Aunt Viv on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, she got on. Now, what she did is the definition of a rant. She went on a rant. It was constructive, and I think it was very eye-opening as well. And I'll talk about that here in just a second. So hopefully we can get all that Oscar stuff out of the way, because it's not really something that I care too much about, but I know it is, a hot button topic right now. And I know, and I think it's in some ways it's kind of significant. It's just that I don't really care about it that much. American Crime Tonight. I don't know if you guys have been watching it, but every week I remind you and I advise you to watch it. Speaking of Oscars, 12 Years a Slave got snubbed, I guess, last year. Did they? I think so. because they said no in the last 2 years, right? I don't watch award shows, so I'm doing this all on stuff that I've heard, and I've had to go back and read some stuff to make sure the stuff that I think I remember is true. So 12 Years a Slave, another movie that was snubbed last year. The guy who wrote it actually, I guess, wrote and produced American Crime. Regina King is on that joint, trying to name some names you guys know. Dre 3000 is the husband and father of a teenage basketball star at this white prep school. Who else? I guess a lot of people that you know are on this show, and a lot of people that you don't know, you've seen them before and other things, and a lot of people who, for me, I'm seeing them for the first time. But it's a very, very captivating show. It's the second season of it, and they did something that's real rare. Well, I don't know if it's rare. I guess it's rare because I don't see it. It's rare to me. They brought back the same cast as last season with a different storyline, playing totally different characters. It's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. So, like I said, we'll get into this Oscar stuff. I want to remind you guys at the bottom of the hour, coming back from the break, and then probably we'll do one break today, and then I'll just talk until I have nothing else to say. Going to do on this day our daily look back into the annals of sports and kind of give you guys some historical tidbits, educate you a little bit as you wade through my foolery. And the title for today's show is what is it? It has to do with regrets, right? And I want to talk to you guys about a guy who I loved watching play in especially in college, Antoine Randall El. He had some very pointed things to say about where he thinks the NFL will be in a couple years, and some of the things that that dude is 3 years younger than I am, and the stuff that he's going through physically, like just in his regular day-to-day life, it's something that should be addressed, and eyes should be open. We're not talking about old retired players from the 70s, Earl Campbell and guys like that are going through these physical ailments. This dude is 36 years old. Young. 36 years young. And wait till you hear the kind of stuff that he's going through. So we'll talk about that. As well as along the lines of regrets. There is this kind of cloud of what people would like to dismiss as just unforeseen or unseen racism as it pertains to the way money is made by the NCAA holes. And today, a little bit more of what's been kind of hiding that hiding that fact, it's been peeled away a little bit more. Some of the numbers came out. The money numbers came out for what a lot of people, especially around these parts, consider the best conference in college football, the SEC. Then some of the financial numbers came out, and they're ridiculous. First of all, and some of the other things that are ridiculous usually follow factual information. You know what I mean? Like, people start talking about global warming, and the first thing somebody wants to say is, "But the Bible." All right, we gotta stop talking. Like, let's speak in facts. You know, you can have your beliefs and all that stuff. You can have all that stuff, and it's fine. But don't bring that knife to this gunfight. You know what I mean? And you'll figure out. You'll soon see what I'm talking about once we get to that. Ross Tucker has some things to say about Ross Tucker of NBC Sports. He did a piece for, I think he did for Real Clear Sports, and talking about the hiring practices, something that I've been talking about for a couple of shows now. He, of course, he's a Caucasian man, so he's coming from a different perspective, not necessarily the perspective I was coming from, as it relates to the Rooney Rule and things of that nature. But I think what he says is still applicable in a lot of ways to what I've been talking about. We got a couple of NBA stories. You know, we got, of course, we got to talk about. Let's do that now. Get it out the way. This thing that happened in Cleveland on Monday, like, I saw the makings of it, the beginning of it, and it was very distracting trying to do this show while that was going on, watching Steph just drop bombs and Draymond them and Clay drop bombs on LeBron's boys. And, like, after the fact, you know, because they went into the game with Steph saying that, you know, he hopes the visiting locker room still smells like champagne, right, from when they beat the Cavs last year on that floor. And from my understanding, no one asked LeBron about it during the shoot around, during the press time. No one asked him about it. He was surprised. He actually mentioned it to them. Like, I'm surprised y'all didn't ask me about that. I had an answer for you. And they was like, "Well, what is it?" He was like, "Nope, don't worry about it. I'm good." And he just walked away. So everyone thought that was going to have the Cavs fired up to prove that, you know, this is our house and it's a different year. And now that we're healthy, we got Kyrie, we got Kevin and Timothy Mozgov and Tristan Thompson got his money on, and it's about to go digital. Man, they could have beat them boys by 50 points if they wanted to. They beat the living hell out of them on MLK Day. Violence was in full effect. Mental violence, torture. So it happened, but like after it happened, the amount of surprise was what kind of took me back a little bit. Like, people were surprised that happened, and maybe while you're watching it, but after it happens, you look at it and say, that team just ain't as good as that other team. You know what I mean? It just really ain't. LeBron he's made this into a him situation. You know what I mean? And I spoke about this last year during the offseason as well. I spoke about it when he demanded to get Kevin Love in and get the Bennett kid out and Andrew Wiggins out. And I was like, yo, cool. You know what I mean? If you can do it, cool. But just understand, when it goes down, it got to go down on you. You know what I mean? And the great thing that he's done as well, and it will allow to be done, he is insulated. He's become insulated with David Blatt, because when things go good, it's like, oh, look at Coach James. But when things go like they went on Monday, oh, David Blatt is overmatched in the NBA. He's not an NBA coach. Excuse me, they're still in first place in the East. They're in first place in the East. You know what I mean? And the playoffs and all that kind of stuff is a long, long way away. But it's amazing how LeBron has turned David Blatt into a human piece of Kevlar. You know what I mean? But I think eventually the tide will turn on that. And I think people know, but they just don't want to admit it, because, you know, people like LeBron now. He's back into the good graces of the people. But he's kind of hurt his own game, the same way Kevin Love's game was hurt, the same way Chris Bosh's game was hurt at the beginning. You know, they put all these bigs on the inside. Well, in this case, they got all these bigs now, and LeBron can't shoot the damn ball from the outside. So that's an issue. He's having the worst shooting year of his life from the outside. He's got to finish at the rim or somewhere around, you know, the 15-foot and down mark to be effective now. And now when you got all these guys clogging the lane, there is no space, because that was the whole thing with Kevin Love last year. The same thing with Chris Bosh in Miami. They needed these guys to do something different, play the stretch for, to give LeBron and give Dwayne Wade those driving lanes. I mean, Kyrie's gonna be all right. I mean, Kyrie's gonna break down anything. And when it don't stop there, let's not forget Kyrie has won a 3-point shooting contest, so he can get it done from downtown as well. But it's I don't know. You know, as we move forward, just I would advise everyone to keep an eye on that. You know, because now they're talking about trading a guy like Timothy Mozgov because of that fact. It's just too much beef in there to move freely if you're a guy like LeBron who needs to get to the rim. Also, what happened? Wrapping this up, Kevin Love, yeah, that dude ain't scared. Like, LeBron might be the man, right? And I think Kevin Love is alluding to exactly what I'm talking about. Like in his post game press conference yesterday, he made some comments, and because I'm me, I didn't go get the actual comments, the quote to read to you guys, but he's basically like, we all need to look in the mirror, and it starts with our leader. And he like nodded his head like, our leader over there, not even with LeBron. It starts with our leader over there, kind of sarcastically, like, yeah, he's put himself in this position, and he's the one who comes down on everyone else and tries to tell everyone to calm down. Meanwhile, he's shoving, this is me talking now, he's shoving Steph Curry to the ground because out of frustration. LeBron, just look how many times, like, if something doesn't go good for LeBron on the offensive side of the floor, how many times he just stands there and looks and watches? You know, there are times though he'll hustle back and try to get a block if he can get a block. But if not, like, he's not running back, man. He's sitting around pouting. And when people start talking about, you know, we're not, I just saw this on my phone as I started talking, and I turned it off so so my thought wouldn't be broken. But like when he starts talking about being champions and comparing himself to that team, to the Warriors, it's like, you gotta slow down, my man, and understand it's 82. Now, they've taken 2 out of the 82 from you, but the reality is the Warriors have to stay healthy as well, and they have to make it through the playoffs as well. What does it say? Quote, this is LeBron talking. Our last game against Golden State, you can kind of throw it in the trash. That's true. When I talk about us playing at a championship level, that doesn't automatically guarantee us playing until June. It's all about the habits I preach. Wait a minute. Is this LeBron talking to the coach? I preach the habits more than anything. For me to look and say that we're going to represent the East in the finals would be absurd. I don't really talk like that. That's not what I'm about. Well, you know, it's not about talking, but people see what you've done, my man. This team's been put together. Mo Williams, who won't get no run no more. You know, you trade for JR and Iman. And now JR, somebody tricked him into opting out in the offseason just to come back for less money. Oh, that's so JR. But yeah, that whole thing on Monday, it was. I'm resisting, man. I don't want to sound like I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, because I'm not. You know what I mean? I just think they play the most. They have the most fun playing basketball, man. You know, like we saw like a dumbed down version of this a couple of years ago when they had like Baron Davis and Steven Jackson and those boys, and they was just running up and down the court, dunking on people and shooting threes, and you know, it's like that, but it's more mature now. You know what I mean? Because you got a dude that's really getting straight buckets, and a dude like Draymond Green who is on 100 all the time. So yeah, I'm not. If it sounds like when I talk about these cats, I'm a fan of good basketball, man. I want to see good sports, period, be played, and they give me that, so I acknowledge it whenever given the opportunity. Daily fantasy sports is back in the news today. Another state has deemed them illegal, so we'll talk about that. And one of the finest, the most timeless timelessly beautiful women in the world. I think my compliment can stop there. She's talking. Stacey Dash. I think she's a regular on like Fox News. Good for her. They gotta find a black one, and usually the black one is like as loopy and as dumb as they are. Like what's the dude's name? Ben Carson and those people like that. So Stacey Dash is the one. Let's see what it's so funny when stupid people speak, and I'm not the dude that just like dismisses you because you're stupid. Because even a broke clock is right twice a day, right? And she's talking, and basically what Stacey Dash is saying, she's talking about, she's addressing this Oscar situation, right? Which I'll do now, and then we'll take this to the bottom of the hour and get into our sports, right? So yesterday or Monday, I tell you guys, I get off I finish the show, and the first thing I usually do, unless I got some work to do afterwards or something pressing, I go to my phone and I go to the internet because I want to see if I missed anything, like anything happened while I was talking. And it just so happened everyone's talking about Aunt Viv and then she's right about this and she's wrong, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? No one heard from her in a while now. So I find out what everyone's talking about, and I click on the video of her just laying down the law against on Will and Jada, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. And I have to say, I wish I would have heard that before I did my show on Monday, because she added a whole lot of perspective to something that I know very little about, and I admitted as much, and I do it all the time when it comes to these award shows and stuff. I really don't understand I guess I understand the purpose, but I don't understand the big brouhaha about it. Like, okay, I got nominated, or I didn't. I won, or I didn't. Now, I guess there's one, like the People's Choice Awards. I mean, I don't know how it goes, but it sounds like it's something that people either nominate or vote on or whatever, right? The name. Now, someone will like email me or something and tell me that I'm wrong as hell about that, but it just sounds like it's something that the people vote on. And then, if you're doing a job, right, that is for the benefit of people, like an actor, well, it seems about right. You know what I mean? It just seems like that would make more of a difference or more of an impact than some old white man sitting in a room being asked to analyze something they know nothing about. You know what I mean? Some rich white boy sitting around breaking down Straight Outta Compton. Come on. So anyway, she's telling them, like, look, the only reason you mad, the only reason you telling people to boycott is because you didn't win. But if you did, you wouldn't be standing up for the people who deserved it but didn't get. Well, if you got nominated, but some of the other people, Michael B. Jordan, Idris Elba, who else? Straight Outta Compton, F. Gary Gray, like the other people who didn't get nominated, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't be saying a damn thing. And I think that sentiment probably goes for a lot of y'all out there. You know what I mean? Had they thrown you that bone, that one dark face, a lot of you would have been like, well, got one. You know what I mean? And kept it moving. But it's got to be more than that. She pointed out the fact that, they have a production company. But yet, the only people you see in the movies are their friends and people in their family. Like, they ain't trying to break no stars. Like Ice Cube, like for whatever it's worth, man. And you want to talk about guys who make people like Cat Williams, Chris Tucker, people you've never heard of, Mike Epps, people you've never heard of before. You saw him in a Friday movie or a All About the Benjamins, and the next thing you know, it's going digital for these cats, man. And what she's saying is that Will don't do that. Will and Jada don't throw the rope back. It's about them. And I don't blame nobody for that. That's, as humans, we all have that in us. Like it's being unnatural to do the opposite, right? Survival instinct is what we have, the instinct to survive. The sharing instinct isn't necessarily there. That's something that people work at, at doing. And people should, by the way. So, she's talking about people risking, them asking people to risk a lot more than they're risking. Like, they've made their millions, is what she's saying, but there's people who are still trying to establish themselves in Hollywood. And she talked about Hollywood as this fickle town that, yeah, you can boycott this if you want to, but let's see what your next role is. And she's speaking out of the mouth of a person who feels as though they were blackballed. She went back to the days of the Fresh Prince when she was like, yo, let's stick together the way they did on Friends, and let's try to get this raised since the show is so popular. And she quoted him as saying, yeah, y'all's deal is y'all's deal. My deal is my deal. And because she was trying to spearhead or looked upon as a rebel rouser to get some more money out of the studio, the next thing you know, what was her name? Valerie Reed? Her last name was Reed. Became the new Aunt Viv, and they kept it moving. Yeah, real talk, man. The other thing that came out of this now is that Tyrese is asking Chris Rock to not go to the Oscars. And it's like, you can't, I don't believe in putting that type of unfair pressure on someone, because the fact of the matter is, when those folks sue that dude for the breach of contract, who's chipping in on the legal fees? Who's doing that to pay the damages for the money that they would probably get? He signed a deal, man. This ain't no volunteer stuff. And please don't believe that they can't just get somebody else up there to read some cue cards. Look, if the BET Awards can do that, right? Didn't the BET Awards one time Cat Williams got locked up, and then T-Pain stepped in and then hosted the joint flawlessly? I didn't see it, but I heard the next day when I was working in radio at the time. I heard everybody talking about it. So please believe there's only bad that can come from it. Like, I'm really not on that page where people start telling people to sacrifice their money when there's nothing, where you yourself are garnering none of the risk. Like when Martin Luther King was like, hey, y'all come march with me. You know who was in the front of the line? Him. He was like, man, y'all need to go out there and march. I'm going to be at the crib, though, getting a back rub from Coretta. No. To me, that's so ratchet, man. I think the brother should. I think LeBron should. What you doing? Like, where's your part in all this, man? But that's where we at right now, man. And here's the other thing I want to say about this, too. Before we take this break here, this is where you find yourself in this kind of conundrum as a people, because if you want to celebrate Denzel's Oscar win, and you did, and you want to celebrate Halle Berry's Oscar win for that BS movie, both of them, right? When she played Dorothy freaking Dandridge, he played Malcolm X. Reuben Hurricane Carter didn't get a sniff, right? Monique played a doped out, overweight project broad and got an Oscar. So if you're not offended by that, don't be offended when what's the girl's name? When the cats from 12 Years a Slave don't win nothing. When my man who played Martin Luther King in Selma don't win nothing. Because you have set the precedent at this point. You settled for Lonzo and whatever Halle Berry's character was named, getting jammed up by Billy Bob Thornton and Monique. You settled and you celebrated those things. You set the standard already a long time ago. Now, don't try. You can't do the whole revisionist history thing and say, now Will Smith is playing this controversial doctor. You know, he don't got 50 kids in the projects and he ain't doing this and that. He's a real live doctor taking on one of the largest institutions in America. Yeah. You set the precedent early, man. I was having this conversation with my lady the other day. You teach people how to treat you, man. And if those are the things you're going to celebrate without a murmur, yeah, basically what you're doing is you taking what they're giving you, and now they give you nothing. So, and half of y'all still going to watch the damn Oscars anyway, man. Don't fool yourself. You know what I mean? I'm going to check. I don't know when it come on, but I'm going to check the ratings the next day. and I'm gonna know they're not all white people. It wasn't just all white people watching it. This is One Mic with Big Mike. We're gonna come back. We're gonna get into these sports, man. I want to first start off talking about the NFL. You know, not the playoff stuff, but former player coming out and saying some very concerning things about where he thinks the NFL will be in the next 2 decades plus. You know what I mean? Don't forget, sign up for your free Spreaker accounts. Do it via the website or the app, and then search for my show, the number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. That's also my Twitter and Instagram handle, so make sure you guys look me up on Twitter and Instagram and follow me there as well. I'll be right back.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I heard on the news about that 5-year-old who found his uncle's gun. The kid didn't know it was loaded.
I heard on the news about that 14-year-old girl who was bullied online for like a year. She couldn't take it anymore, so she got her dad's gun from his nightstand.
I heard on the news about that guy who broke into someone's house, stole a gun from the hall closet.
He accidentally shot his cousin in the head.
She killed herself.
And later, killed the owner of the store he was trying to rob.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
You know what I noticed I do today? I just kind of saw myself doing this, and it made me think back to my days in radio. I used to work with a guy who used to write a script before every show, just like in stone type of script too. You know, where no matter what happened, like someone could blow up Phillips Arena, and it didn't matter. He would not leave the show with it. He'd already had his script written out 2 hours before the show, and that's what his opening monologue is what he called it. And I was like, dude, this is live radio. Things happen. You know what I mean? And I noticed today what I do, like when I was looking at my notes, I don't even really write my thoughts down. Like I have a thought, and I'll just write a word, or like a small like where I have you know I'm going to talk about the Oscars. I just put dark skinned Aunt Viv. That's it. That's all I put. And, you know, I figured, well, I guess I thought about, why do I do that? Why don't I just take the time out to just, you know, type the thought out, and then, you know, I won't forget it. And to me, if it's an authentic thought, it's mine anyway. It's mine. I'm not going to forget it because it's actually how I feel about something. And I think so many times in radio, and especially in this realm of broadcasting, it's all about, you know, bringing shock and, you know, saying the most outlandish thing you possibly can. And to me, I'm just gonna share my opinion, man. I feel like I'm an obtuse enough thinker to where my opinion alone is not gonna be, the same as the 99.9% of everyone else out there. You know what I mean? Or the perspective on which I present my opinion. So I need to write a script. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever. And using the fact that because I'm on radio, no one can see me reading it. Everyone knows what you're doing. We know what you're doing. You know, you can hear when someone's not just. Now, I read a lot on this show. You know, I read a lot of quotes and things that people say. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to, so I can actually quote them and give you the full impact and effect. And because I'm, while I'm prepping for the show, sometimes I just get lazy and I don't feel like going and recording the actual audio of what they're saying into my system. So there's some truths for you on how the sausage is made. Sausage is made. It's One Mic with Big Mike, back for the second half hour of the show on Spreaker.com. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, also on the Spreaker app for all of your mobile devices. Catch me on Twitter and Instagram, as well as on Spreaker at the number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. Make sure you follow me. And once you follow me on Spreaker, and if you're listening to the show like after the fact, or if you download the show or whatnot, go ahead and click the little heart button as well, the little like button, so I can get my like game popping. You feel me? But right now, as we do each and every day, I'm trying to get my guest game going back too. I've been slipping on that whole situation as well. But when we don't have guests, and we haven't in a while here, at the bottom of the hour, we usually take a look back.
Now, let's take a look back. On this day.
All right, like I said, today we're gonna get in and out, man. On this day in 1892, see my Theo Huxtable almost jumped up on me. My dyslexia almost said 1982. 1892, the first basketball game ever played was in Massachusetts at the YMCA Training Center. On this day in 1968, the Houston Cougars defeated the UCLA Bruins 71-69 to win basketball's game of the century. Why was it the game of the century? Well, it ended UCLA's 47-game winning streak. Those teams, part of those teams were, the great Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton is part of those teams. John Wooden led teams over a decade of basketball, man. These dudes shutting the game down. I do that every day when I'm trying to turn my music now. On this day in 1974, Essex Community College beat Inglewood, with an E, Cliffs, 210-67 in basketball. Jesus Christ. Throwing the towel. Where's the mercy rule when you need one? There should have been a running clock on that joint. On this day in 1980, President Jimmy Carter, Georgia boy, announced the U.S. boycott of the Olympics in Moscow. The whole Cold War thing. Couldn't risk going over there then. Bad things were set to happen, I guess. I was 3 years old, so I only know what I heard. On this day in 1995, the 1994-1995 NHL season began after a lengthy strike. And finally, for the A-Town, on this day in 2013, the NFC Championship game featured the San Francisco 49ers and the hometown Atlanta Falcons, in which the 49ers won the game to go to the Super Bowl. The score was 28-24. That's back in the day when Colin Kaepernick could apparently play football and can't play football anymore. I'm not confident in that. Chip Kelly's out there now. I heard Stephen A. Smith. God, is he making an appearance on my show again? Guess so. Or getting a mention. But anyway, that is your Wednesday edition of On This Day. So Stephen A. Smith is talking about Chip Kelly and still going off about the same crap about how does a man who did this and that and other, and he did this and that and other, how does he get a job 3 weeks after being fired from one place for not doing that? Because apparently Stephen A. Smith doesn't understand that people can mature and people can learn from their mistakes. You know what I mean? Yeah, probably not. I don't think like him trading Shady McCoy and cutting Deshaun Jackson. Again, Deshaun Jackson had like 30 catches this year. 30. Name me any other wide receiver in the league that you're making a fuss over that had 30 catches. LaShawn McCoy was hurt half the year. He started the season off hurt. Jeremy Maclin got money, right, to go play for his former coach. Yeah, what was it going to take to keep him? It was a difference. They said of $1 million. That's pocket change in NFL money, right? Nah, Jeremy Maclin wanted out. You know what I mean? You can't hold that against Chip Kelly necessarily. And the fact that Riley Cooper's still on the team. All right, keep putting that feather in your cap. You know what I mean? But Chip Kelly's out in San Francisco now, and apparently Stephen A. Smith has a huge problem with it because he knows the perfect candidate. Now they do win in Philly and won 20 games in the first 2 years. Coaches just don't do that, man. You know, so if you want to start making, like, this whole nonsense about, well, because he didn't relate to the players. Well, I mean, I'm assuming he didn't the first 2 years either. But you know what he did? Won ball games. See, that's the end all be all. That dude ain't gotta show up and be no damn fuzzy bear. Because you know who else wasn't, as a matter of fact? Tom Coughlin. Those players hated that dude at the beginning. And as old as he was, even then, he learned. He learned and adapted. Chip Kelly wasn't afforded that opportunity in Philly. He's being afforded that opportunity now. Now, if the same thing happens in San Francisco, well, you're looking at a situation of just a person being who they are and being very unmalleable. And if that's the case, well, it'll all come out in the wash. But everybody, this whole business of sports media has turned into, let me show you how right I can be about something I have no way of knowing. Okay. Who's going to win this weekend? Yeah, and they do like a whole 20 minutes about that between 5 different people. Again, scripted responses. It's ridiculous, man. You know, which is why I'm content, man. I'm content sitting in the room by myself. You know what I mean? Doing this without all that other crap, man. People trying to, you know, dictate thought and the things you can and cannot say, and you get in trouble for talking about certain subject matter, not for cursing or not for using any type of colorful language, but just for broaching certain subject matter that may make someone feel uncomfortable. Well, to me, that's the birthplace of conversation. And when people get uncomfortable, you know, it forces the conversation out of them. Oh, speaking of the conversation, I'm not done with this Oscar stuff. Oh, I forgot to mention. I did mention it, but I didn't go. Stacey Dash. Yeah. So she gets on Fox Sports today, and she's talking about how boycotting the Oscars is ridiculous. And, you know, a lot of people have that they have that opinion. And I'm one who says maybe it is. I don't know. Like, to me, it's all about the end game. Like, what do you hope to accomplish? I mean, the president of the Oscars, I think she's a black lady because there's a picture of a black lady on the article I was reading, and I heard Spike Lee mention her in his announcement in his social media post that he wasn't showing up at the Oscars. But yeah, I think she's a black woman, and she says that it's going on for too long, and there definitely needs to be a change. And I think a couple of those dudes were dismissed. The dudes who make the decisions or vote on the movies, they were actually dismissed. So, you know, change is happening. Sans the boycott. Now, for what I understand, man, them gift bags be on fleek, cuz. Oh, here's the other thing about those gift bags too. Apparently, the government get they cut. Like, you gotta claim that junk on your taxes, because I heard a lot of the stars will decline the gift baskets because they so extravagant. You know, it just adds another layer to what they got to do with their taxes, and people don't want to turn out to be, you know, Red Fox or, you know, Peebo Bryson on that whole tax situation, because the government, the tax man will come. But anyway, so Stacey Dash, she talks about stuff like she doesn't see a need. She doesn't see why there's a BET, you know, Black Entertainment Television. And in some ways, I'm on that tip in some ways. You know what I mean? And then she makes reference to the point that if it was a white entertainment television or something, like I remember a couple of years ago, some dude was on radio here in Atlanta talking about he wanted to put together a white professional basketball league, and folks was like, "Well, hell no! It's like a Klan meeting with a basketball," you know, all that kind of foolishness. But you know, when you start stuff like that, at some point, somebody's going to look around and say, hold on, I can't say white power, but you can say black power. This is a conversation I've had many a time with black friends and white friends of mine. You know what I mean? The double standard that exists, and I understand the history and all that kind of stuff that feeds in to that type of stuff. But I also know this, and from talking to people and actually reading and looking into certain things, that the civil rights movement wasn't exactly thought all the way out, like a lot of things aren't, when it comes to integration. You know what I mean? Because as it may seem when you watch movies and everything, it's like black people gained a lot of things, which they did. Those people of that time, not excluding myself from the race, but the people at that time, they did a lot of things to gain us certain things, access to certain things. But at the same time, they don't really have the movies that talk about the areas of the black community that got hurt by integration. Like, you ever wonder why so many historical black colleges and universities look the way they do? Why? Because they stop being a source of pride. Like these other universities, the USCs and the Alabamas and the Ohio States, from our community, they were put on this pedestal, right? This unattainable pedestal. And once they became attainable, it was like, well, damn that, I ain't got to go to Tennessee State or Howard. I can go to Virginia. I can go to Tennessee. Especially when you talk about the let's call them the cream of the crop, the athletes. You know, a lot of time, and I read this in a book that I reference quite frequently, The $40 Million Slave by William H. Roden of the New York Times. And he talks about how the schools like Southern and Grambling and, you know, Prairie View and schools like that, they rested on the fact that this is about family and about community, what we have here. Like, we don't have to offer, you know, the sparkle and the glitz and the glam. Well, here's the thing. Once you've already ingrained in the youth of your time to look at certain things under a certain light, it's hard to unring that bell. So if I'm a kid in, I don't know, rural Louisiana, let's say, right? And Southern comes to my door and starts talking about all this black pride and community pride and all this kind of stuff. And then LSU comes and they take me to the campus and I see this lavish, these things that I've never seen before. And they offering me stuff that I'm not supposed to be getting offered, stuff that definitely Southern ain't offering me. Yeah, sometimes those decisions get a lot easier. So my bigger point is this, you know, saying that we want our own as a people, or we want to be included. Let me say that sometimes it diminishes the things that people have built on their own. A lot of black businesses struggled when people felt like the better places to eat was where the white people ate at. So the black restaurants that have been there for years and years and years, their money got hit, of course, right? And I'm going to say the same thing about things like BET. Like, I don't watch BET. You know how BET catches me? Before I tell that lie and say I don't watch BET, there's nothing on BET that I regularly watch. You know, my man told me the other day that Gabrielle Union has a show on there that shows the game. The reason I know about that, well, I have a Mario Van Peebles story that my former partner, Rob Calloway, could tell a lot better. And he made me think the dude was going to die, for example. I mean, I'll leave it at that. But anyway, we met him and had an awkward exchange with him. It was real stupid. So I know about that show. But BET gets me like on Saturday if I'm flipping through. Like, it'll probably happen this Saturday. No football. I'll be flipping through and I'll see the whole block on the guide. Martin. Yeah, that's like crack to a crackhead. I got to watch that. It is Martin, damn it. But anything else, I don't watch anything else on BET. And the fact of the matter is, first of all, they're owned by Viacom, which is the same company that owns MTV, that is also the parent company of CBS. So it's really not that black, only by name. Just like MTV, it's not about music, but it's still called MTV. Go figure. And Stacey Dash also talked about getting rid of Black History Month. I laugh because of the way the white boy who was interviewing her looked. But it's something that I talk about this all the time, man. And I have no shame in it. It's like, I don't even understand it anymore, like now. You know what I mean? Because, first of all, like Black History Month is another one of those things that kind of went out the door. Once you integrated the schools and start busing kids every which way. And I'm not claiming that any solution or anything that happened was either right or wrong. I'm just telling you what ended up happening. That thing that happened within the schools that the black kids went to, like that black pride and that the need for the instructors to pass down a lot of the knowledge of culture to the youth. A lot of that went out the window, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And as we move on generation to generation, it happens more and more. Like Black History Month, to me, is not needed. Because the only thing it does, it makes it seem like, all right, for these next 28 days and every 4 years, 29, we're gonna tell you something about Harriet Tubman. That ain't real Black history. Like, we live in the information age, man. Like, your Black history should be any hour, any minute of any day you want it to be. From January 1st to December 31st. There doesn't need to be some sort of carved out time for you or me. I've had conversations with guys about historically black colleges and universities. At some point, if you want to compete, inclusion is probably what is a better thing to do. Like, I tell the story, Draymond Green, he won the championship last year, got a new contract. He gave his alma mater, Michigan State University, $3 million. And that's probably on the short end of the donations they get from boosters. Who's doing that at Grambling? Who's doing that at Howard and Savannah State and these schools that got to go play these damn, like, they get money by sending kids out to get embarrassed. You send Savannah State to go play Florida State in football and watch them get beat by 100 because they need money. The alumni ain't as prestigious in that large numbers, financially, I should say, as a guy like Draymond Green or like the stuff Michael Jordan does for North Carolina, the stuff that the president of Nike does for Oregon. Now, while we're there, it's a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about as it relates to the land of college football. Some numbers came out today. Some financial numbers came out today as it relates to the Southeastern Conference and some other conferences around the world of football. Now, the numbers from last year, as far as the SEC goes, this is a Forbes article, so this is not just some BS, blog that I'm getting this from. This is Forbes. Last year, the SEC generated $476 million. This came from payouts from football bowl games, the NCAA tournament, and TV deals with CBS and ESPN. Now, understand, we haven't even mentioned, although the SEC Network is a subsidiary of ESPN, they did not mention the SEC Network. I'll get to that here shortly. That turned out to be $34 million per member school. The Big Ten, who was second, had $28 million per member school. It's so funny to me, because we have these conversations a lot. The Ed O'Bannon case, they talk about the likenesses and the images of these players having no value. I wonder if any of this money from these playoff games, from this tournament, would be able to be made if the referees, Mike Krzyzewski and his staff showed up, Roy Williams and his staff showed up for the ball game, but no players showed up. I wonder if they would still maintain that same exact stance, that these players have their likenesses and their names have no value. They're in a situation where everyone's able to profit and benefit from them, but them. You know what I mean? If you sign a jersey for a guy, you can't sell it to him. But if a guy has a jersey and he wants your signature, you can. Like I'm Johnny Manziel, right? And I signed the jersey. Well, then what that dude can do is he can take it to a trade show. He can take it to eBay. You can get on eBay right now. You will see exactly what I'm talking about. and he'll sell your jersey, and he'll profit off your jersey and your name. But if you do it, Todd Gurley, AJ Green, I'm not going to even mention Johnny Manziel, because for some reason Johnny Manziel and Todd Gurley did the same exact thing. And Johnny Manziel sat out a half of football, and Todd Gurley missed 4 games. How many games did AJ Green miss? He missed like 4 or 5 as well, right? I don't understand how that worked, but I do understand this. There is a nice, fluffy cloud of racism. And this is not something that I talk about lightly at all. You guys who listen to the show have heard my stance on this, that I understand, and I make it very, very clear that everything that involves race is not racism. But this is a predominantly white organization taking advantage of their position and gaining financially off the backs of what is primarily young black kids. No, of course, there are white kids on every team, but we're talking 60-70% black. And like I mentioned in the whole Flint, Michigan situation, sometimes some of yours got to go down for me to get the rest, for me to get all theirs. Or some of mine got to go down for me to get the rest of all of theirs. You know what I'm saying, right? And for the most part, and then here's the other thing about that. If you're, like, take the old USC teams, right? You got Matt Leinart, you got Reggie Bush, right? Matt Leinart's dad was paying for their whole apartment, in L.A., right? Reggie Bush was taking money on the side to help his moms keep the lights on and get a crib. Kind of different situations. You know, one where the parent's helping the kid, the other was the kid is helping the parent. Now, the SEC earned like $64 million just from the college playoffs alone. First year of the college playoffs. Now, this number has been adjusted. Now, I'm going to mention that here as I forward the story. $50 million in a base payout and $14 million in bonuses. Then to add to the conference money, kind of sort of, $27.5 million was paid to Mississippi State for appearing in the Orange Bowl, and then $17 million for the teams that found their way to the NCAA tournament. Now, it's estimated that somewhere around $347 million in TV money was earned by the conference last year. They weren't. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So the SEC network wasn't even projected to make a profit in its first 3 years. Yeah. Yeah, someone misshot that target. Let's say that. Now, the bowl game revenue is a combination of money from the college football playoff, which distributed more than $400 million among 10 conferences last year. $400 million. And contract bowls. The NCAA tournament prize money system operates on a 6-year rolling period, with conferences receiving around $250,000 per tournament game played over the last 6 seasons. So the school just break off a quick $250 bang for every game they play in the tournament, man. That's why it's so big for these smaller schools like Georgia State and Bradley and schools like that. But like for North Carolina and Duke and those, and let's not mistake it for what it really is. College football drives the ship, right? That's the conductor. So then today, my guy John Solomon, I'm always talking about him from CBS Sports. He's always he's up to speed on all the NCAA stuff. He and my guy Steve Silver from LegalBlitz.com. Now the updated numbers vis-a-vis some tax returns. The SEC reported $527.4 million in revenue during the first year of the college football playoff and the SEC network in 2014-15. In case you're wondering real quick, that's over $500 million. That's before anything. That's just talking about the playoff system money and the TV money. We're not talking about sponsorship dollars. We ain't talking about any of that stuff right now. Mike Slive, who was a commissioner, He left out of here he left out of the office getting a base salary of $3.6 million. Now the new guy, I'm sorry. His base salary was 3.6, but then he got bonuses of like 2.1, so that jumped him up a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry, not 2.1. His bonuses added up to 3.65 million, a little over 6.5 million. The Pac-12 commissioner, 3.5 million. Now the new commissioner, Greg Sankey, he got there in June, July, August. That's 3 months, so to speak, like maybe under 3 months. That dude made $409,000. It's a great gig if you can get it, man. That's good work if you can get it. The revenue, the increase was 222% between 2008 and 2009 and 2014-15. That ain't even a real number. That's like a Maury Povich number. Like, Maury, I'm 222% sure that I'm not the baby. What? But yet, these kids have no value, right? And one of the kids from Florida, the University of Florida, he tweeted that, he saw the article because these kids, some of them at least, can read. And he's like, yeah, this is modern day slavery. And see, what happens when you do that is, I have no problem with that comparison because I'm one of the few people that realize, I guess, that slavery in the broader sense of things is not something that is exclusive to the Africans that were transported from the African western coast to the United States. Slavery was around long before that, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's around today. Now, what happens is when that word gets used, it's an inflammatory word. So a lot of times the message before it gets lost. And this is why I'm always talking about the people who write the stories on these kids and write the narratives being able to relate. Because what he's saying is, like, if you look back in the days of in the Roman times, those gladiators who we look to football players as gladiators, they were paid, they were given women, they were given liquor. Now, they just couldn't come and go as they wanted to. Oh, neither can college football players, can they? Yeah, you try to pick up your stuff at LSU and go play for Clemson next year. Try that. So there are similarities. Like, trying to make these kids look dumb, that ain't really the move either. And this whole thing, and I started off talking about the cloud of racism. And it really peaks its head when numbers like this come out. You know what I mean? When you hear grown men, a lot of times white men, they want to give you every reason that these players shouldn't get a piece of this pie. Every single reason they could think of. But they have no problem with Nick Saban getting $10 million or whatever it is he's making. Or an assistant coach getting $4 or $5 million. They have no problem with that. It's not amateurism anymore. But some kid want to get some money in his pocket to be able to fly home whenever he want to see his moms. You went and got this. You went and got a kid from Florida. He's playing for Stanford or he's playing for Oregon right now. You ain't think he gonna ever want to go home? You ain't think his mom was gonna ever want to come see him? But you want to tell me you don't need no money. And then when the kid finds a way to get some money or put his hands on something because of who he is, capitalize on that worthless likeness and name, then you want to take football away from him. You want to take his sport away from him. It's one of the most ridiculous things, and it is. It's based on race, because the same way all y'all people everybody want to act like they looking out for these kids. Talking about regret, right? That's the theme of today's show, and people always talking about, like, yesterday was the day to declare your eligibility for the draft if you're an underclassman. right? And then that conversation has to get started. Well, he needs to go back. Because last year, look how many kids didn't get drafted. So what? Like, in the world we live in, to keep selling people on that BS college degree is the key to success lie? Is no. Like, man, and the other thing is this. They not going, like, you're not barred from the campus if you decide to go and pursue a dream of playing professional sports. You can still go back. You can't play football no more, but hey, then guess what you are? You're just like most people. I was gonna say like the rest of us, but I didn't pay for school either. I had a scholarship as well. But yeah, if you want to go, I mean, I had friends though. Some of my friends who they didn't leave school. They didn't leave before the eligibility was up, but they left before school was over. Before they was done with school, they went, played some football. When they was done playing football, they came back and got their degrees. You know, and then you become a regular. You got to take out loans, and then here's the other thing about that though, the school still benefits. You know, their APR or whatever it is, it goes towards that when the kid comes back. So there's incentive on the school, or to the school and the program, to allow the kid to come back and continue his education. Now, it may be easier that time around anyway because there aren't the restrictions of playing ball anymore. You can actually take real classes, not Swahili and all this crazy stuff that's going on at North Carolina. Which leads me to this point. You know, amongst the reasons that a lot of these white boys feel like kids shouldn't get any money, any of the money that's been being made off of their sweat, is because, well, they're getting a full ride and they're on scholarship. So freaking what, man? Like, something only has value if it's worth something to me. Because there's plenty of stories, many a story of a kid who wants to major in a certain thing when he gets there, but then the football schedule is too demanding, or it conflicts altogether with the classes, and he has to take a different major. Or he can't dedicate the amount of time he needs to dedicate to the academics, so he has to take an easier major. You know, those quote-unquote football classes. Which then, cats leave, yeah, you might leave North Carolina with a degree, but it's worth nothing, because you know nothing. It's a degree in something stupid, African-American studies. I mean, unless you're going to go teach that somewhere, it does no good for you. It does no good to you in corporate America. Like, that's something that I can do that right here at my crib. I can study African American history right here. I got to go to college to do that. I got the damn internet. But, you know, that whole, you know, their own scholarship, because so many times, man, it boils down to not wanting someone who don't look like you to have something. Or if you're paying for your kids to go to school, look, man, this is the world. Some people are better than other people and get treated that way. You know what I mean? I don't walk into a spot and get treated the same way young Jeezy gets treated when he walks into a spot. No. He has a very specific talent and something that he does, and does it very exceptionally well. And a lot of people appreciate it. I'm not in that category. You know what I am? Fine with that. But some kind of way, man, this NCAA stuff, you know, yeah, kids got to stay in school. You don't say that to Jordan Spieth. He left Texas as a, sophomore, freshman, whatever it was. And he's killing it in golf. No one cares, though, right? Some little girl just said she ain't going to college, and she signed a contract with a professional soccer team. Crickets. You don't hear nothing about it. You care about the things anybody remember Moby Okoye, kid out of Louisville? He went to college when he was 15, which means he got to the league when he was like 18 or 19. What's the difference? He fulfilled the academic requirements, and their only concern with him was really how big is he gonna get. He's already a big kid, big strong kid. Played something like 7-8 years in the league. Ended up getting hurt, too bad to come back, and that was it for him. But you know what's gonna happen if Leonard Fournette, let's say for example, would have tried to go to the NFL, if if it was within the law in the rules for him to go straight from high school to the NFL. The NFL would teach kids a lesson, and someone would have to, someone would have to get their ass kicked first, and let the other people know, like, oh God, maybe I shouldn't do this. You know what I mean? But that's what life is, man. It's ups and downs. If you think you that man, you that dude, you can go from, playing against high school students straight to playing against professionals and grown men who got to take care of their kids. By all means, but you know what's gonna happen before all that goes down? The NFL is gonna regulate it out. They ain't got time. Like the NFL, the way the new contract, the rookie contracts are right now, there is no time to develop no damn 17-year-old. By the time I develop you, you're gonna be a free agent, and someone else is gonna snatch you up. No one has that time to waste in the NFL anymore. The NBA, different story. If you're Kevin Garnett, if you're Kobe Bryant, if you're, even if you're like Jermaine, what's the boy's name? Jermaine O'Neal, Tracy McGrady, I can go on and on. NFL, the NBA is a different monster. There's no way these kids should be relegated to someone's college at all. But it seems to happen, ironically, in the sports that are dominated by young black kids. Because in baseball, somebody wants you out of high school, rap, gone. And this is One Mic with Big Mike, by the way. If you've been listening to me, just go on and on and on. This is One Mic with Big Mike. I'm Big Mike. Spreaker.com is where you're hearing me, so please spread the word and tell your friends. And the Spreaker app for all your mobile devices. Twitter and Instagram and Facebook are my social media vehicles of choice right now. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at the number 1 MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. And on Facebook, you can catch me at ONEMIC, WITHBIGMIKE. Now, I'm going to wrap up the show here with the story about Antoine Randall L. Antoine Randall L was a quarterback, for those of you who don't know, at the University of Indiana. Cole brother, too. I think Randall L threw for 3,000 and ran for 2,000 in his career at Indiana. Some crazy numbers like that, man. But he was too small. He was a small cat, and he wasn't going to make it as a quarterback in the NFL. So he got drafted as a wide receiver by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Played a couple years with them, ended up going and playing for the Redskins, and then going back to the Steelers for his final year. And now he's been out of football now for a couple of years now. But he sat down with, do I have this article highlighted even? I don't think I do. But I know the story, so it doesn't really matter. He sat down with, I think, the Pittsburgh Gazette. And he gave his accounts of life now after football. Here it is. I just had 2 articles of it. And it's weird to hear this guy talk about being 36 years old and having trouble walking down the stairs and suffering from memory loss. He says, quote, I ask my wife things over and over again, and she's like, I just told you that, end quote. That's weird, man. That's a weird. I was talking to one of my buddies who played a couple of years in the league over Christmas holidays, man, and we were having this conversation about, basically like, would we do it again? Because we were talking about like things we did in college. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that dude like literally like knock dudes out on the football field, cold, right? Both he and I have had an amount of concussions, documented and undocumented, playing college football. For example, there was a technique taught, and the technique is called butt and separate, and you don't do it with your ass. You do it with your head. And as a D lineman, the butt and separate technique is basically you shooting your hands to the chest plate of the offensive lineman, at the same time putting your head, hitting him in the center of his breastplate with your head, giving you kind of like a shock, giving him his body a shock and allowing you to press him off of you. Like I'm doing a bench press motion. You guys can't see me, but I'm describing a bench press motion, enabling you to lock your arms out and control the lineman. And it's effective, and it works. You want to See how you can control how like a 230-pound guy, like, that's what I was in college, can control some 320-pound dudes like a puppet. That's how. But not understanding, like now, later on in life, you realize that constant thumping into your head and practicing in games, those are called subconcussive blows. For a guy like Antoine Randall, smaller guy, played the game. He played the game very, very hard, man. If you remember, he's the one that threw that touchdown pass to Hines Ward on that wide receiver pass in the Super Bowl that got Hines Ward that one of the things that got Hines Ward that Super Bowl MVP. So he goes on to say that, you know, if he had to do all over again, essentially he regrets playing football, and that if he had to do all over again, he would play baseball. He says, quote unquote, I would play baseball. I got drafted by the Cubs in the 14th round, but I didn't play baseball because of my parents. They made me go to school. Don't get me wrong. I love the game of football, but right now I could still be playing baseball. Yeah, kind of, sort of, but the 14th round, my man, yeah, you'd have been toiling in single, AA ball the way I know things to have gone in baseball for a long time. Like there's a bunch of football players for that story. I got drafted in the 19th round. I got drafted in the 15th, all this stuff, because you're a good athlete, but like at that point in any draft, you just like picking dudes at that point. So I hear what he's saying, but it's one of those things like hindsight, of course, is 20/20, and the fact that now that you're dealing with these things, it's hard to focus on the life that you've been afforded based on the fact that you can play some football, and the life that you've afforded your kids and your wife based on that, and assume that you could have done the same thing in another sport like baseball. That's quite a leap. You know what I mean? The one thing that he says that I'm always talking about here, part of this, he says, quote, I tell parents, you can have the right helmet, the perfect pads on, and still end up with a paraplegic kid. I'm going to stop there. That's kind of morbid. You know what I mean? Like, those things happen in football. Obviously, we know about Eric LeGrand and those kind of things. And the kid this past season, who was Georgia playing? Georgia Southern? Who the hell were they playing? Or was it Southern? And that kid got paralyzed playing against the University of Georgia, or he got, I don't know his current status. So if I'm saying he got paralyzed and he didn't, I apologize for that, because I definitely don't want to put that on nobody. But those things are still very, for as much football that gets played on Saturday and Sunday during the fall and winter months, those things are few and far between. You know what I mean? So for him to be like, yeah, you can still end up with a paraplegic kid, while that is true, I don't think that's what you necessarily want to just hit a parent with. You know what I mean? That's pretty morbid. Like, I think the concussion thing is enough. You know what I mean? Like, that's in a place of its own, and it's current and it's up to date, right? He goes on to say there's no helmet that's going to correct it. There's no teaching that's going to correct it. It just comes down to it's a physically violent game. Now, that part, absolutely true. All this bull that we're being sold on, that, they're working on technology and techniques and all that. No. It's still happening. And I invite you guys to do this. Like, don't always, look at, whether the safety hit the receiver with the shoulder or the helmet. Damn that. During running plays, look at the look at the defensive tackle. I was gonna say three technique, but I realized this woman a while ago called into one of my shows and was like, you got to do a better job of explaining those things, because you use these terms and no one knows what they mean. The defensive tackle, look at those guys and like the offensive guards, that they're in kind of this box. You know what I mean? And look at the bam, 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 that head-to-head contact that's going on all game, 40, 50 plays a game. Check that out. That's really what's going on. So the NFL, they're great, man. They're great at trying to just throw a sheet over things and make you think they're one without the other. But now they got a guy that's 36 years old, man, regretting even playing the sport. And one of the final things he said that is not going to happen. He says, quote, I wouldn't be surprised if football isn't around in 20 to 25 years, end quote. Now, that's not what the deal is going to be, right? We're not going to deal with a situation where football is going to be gone. what's going to end up happening is, and I mention this all the time, and I had to end up remembering who the author was, Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about football becoming ghettoized, right? And before you go call your Black Lives Matter partner, that's not what he's talking about. He has a documentary that came out in like 2013. And he talks about the term ghettoized, attracting only those people whom the risks are acceptable. Whom the risks are acceptable because of the threat of posed head injuries, which means that there are always going to be kids and parents that are in dire need of a financial boost. And they realize very early on that their kid has a certain talent that other kids don't have. And that kid becomes the de facto lottery ticket. And those kids will always exist. Now, there will also continue to be the kids and the parents who don't need that crap. I don't need my kid going through that crap. We got money. And they won't play anymore. So then, of course, the term is apropos. The sport will become ghettoized. Last thing before we get out of here, because like I said, I'm not feeling the best today, but whatever, life goes on, right? I was going to talk about this coaching thing, but I want to talk about this Outside the Lines report that I read just before, like at 5 o'clock, before I started kind of throttling down and getting ready to do the show. And it talks about the NFL essentially reneging on a $30 million donation that was given to CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the condition that is said to be obtained by repeated head trauma. And the NFL, there was a big thing. Obama talked about it. He did a whole thing with the president, how the NFL is so serious about learning more about the disease. And what this money was going to go to was finding a way to determine CTE in people while they were living. Because currently the only way to find out if a person has the disease is to autopsy them. Well, I don't even have to say autopsy them after they're dead. Just autopsy them, because that denotes dead when I say the word autopsy. But Outside the Lines actually reported that the NFL promised in 2012 an unrestricted $30 million gift to the NIH. NIH stands for the National Institute of Health, for brain research. They backed out of the funding the new study over concerns about the lead researcher, Boston University's Dr. Robert Stern, who has been critical of the league. That's all it takes. See, it's one of those things where, like, okay, we want to do this study, but we want to make sure that the study comes out in our favor. Come on. See what I'm saying? It's like we wanted to look like we care, but we don't care enough to be exposed. That ain't gonna happen. Yeah, it's so ridiculous, man, that this whole thing, it's not about the game being dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous jobs that pay a whole lot less than they pay in the NFL, right? So, to me, it's not about the game being dangerous or violent or any of those things. The game is about allowing the people who participate to have the proper amount of information and education about the thing that they're participating in, so that they can make the decisions like Chris Borland made last season for the 49ers. He's like, look, I don't have to play the game. Again, talk about the ghettoization, right? A kid says, my parents all right. I don't have to play the game. I'm going to go ahead and move on. You know what I mean? I don't want my brain to turn into Jell-O pudding. Shout out to Heathcliff Huxtable. Hopefully you get what's coming to you. So then Dr. Walter Carochez, he's the director of the National Institute for Neurological Disorders and Strokes. What he says was the NFL raised several concerns about Stern's selection during a June conference call, which again, who Dr. Stern is. He's the guy who he spoke up about the initial NFL settlement amount to the players who were suing the NFL about that very same topic, them having the information of what head trauma could do to a person, and telling the players the total opposite. In essence, lying to them. Where am I at? 'Cause I want to get this over with here. Okay, so the NFL, they're bringing up, they want to say it's a conflict of interest because the guy's already been against the NFL or been against the settlement amount. But here's the thing. The NFL is making a big, they're making a lot of hay or a lot of news questioning professional people's integrity. Like with Dr. Benedict Amalu, when he discovered CTE, calling him a quack and a witch doctor and a voodoo doctor from Africa and all these type of things. Like, as though this man, Dr. Stern, has shown any, and I haven't read any evidence of him having a problem, any type of ethical issues in the past, being able to separate the science from his beliefs. And his beliefs are based on the science. You know what I mean? That these people need more money because they're going to need continuous care. You know, why put a cap on? I think that's the issue. Why put a cap on it when now I think the NFL is worth like $64 billion or something crazy like that. Yeah, it was a time where I was like, you know, the NFL don't owe these dudes nothing, man. Like, that don't happen at any other job. But I think they do because they lied. You know what I mean? They lied. They knew they had information that would be that might have been at a detriment to their product. We don't know yet. We don't know if people would have heard the information and still been like, whatever. This is fun. I still want to play this. I'll worry about that because we got people saying it now. People that have the information that are saying like, oh, whatever. I'll worry about that when I get to that age. You got the right to do that, you know, but you also have the right to know. The government's getting involved. A U.S. representative named Jackie Spear of California. What he says, or he or she says, is quote, "I'm deeply troubled by the conduct of the NFL and also question the arrangement where a nonprofit arm of the NIH accepts corporate donations in a way that enables researchers to be bullied by corporate interests." Exactly. This is why at the beginning it says basically that there were no strings attached to the money because you can't do science that way. You can't narrate facts based on someone else's financial interest. That's ridiculous. That's the opposite of what science is. I could go a little bit deeper, but you know, I don't have time to do that right now. It's ridiculous, man. And for not for nothing, man. It seems as though the NFL, you know, they weaseled their way into this one, kind of giving themselves some sort of veto power with the money. Like, if we're going to give you this money, we're going to make sure that we know exactly what's going on at all times, and you're not just going to have, you know, carte blanche to have your research. We want our researchers to see what you guys are doing as you're doing it. It's like, come on, man. That's how nothing gets accomplished. That's exactly the way that absolutely nothing gets accomplished. You know what I mean? Anyway, show went a little bit longer than I thought it was going to go because I'm me, and I still got a bunch of stuff on my notes here, man, a bunch of coaching things and a bunch of rigmarole. But I'm going to get out of here, man. I got to go take care of myself. Tell you guys what, I will be back. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. That's so ridiculously stupid, but it means absolutely nothing, too. Or maybe it does. Anyway, I'm going to come back Friday, do it all over again, and get you guys ready for the playoff weekend, championship Sunday this weekend. Broncos, Patriots, Cards, Panthers. I almost forgot about them. And we'll talk about all this stuff on Friday, man. I hope what I said today, I know we didn't do a lot of sports today, but it's getting to be that time anyway. You know, football's about to end, basketball season's in stride, but, you know, my local team ain't really doing the best. You know, they got the Atlanta Hawks got the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. They haven't been as consistent as I'd like to see them be. So, you know, it's getting to that point where, you know, the show's going to become a lot more socially topical as it relates to sports. By the way, before I get out of here, Josh Gordon applied for reinstatement today. So we'll see what happens with that. Apparently, everyone feels like he's a dope fiend because he smokes weed. So ridiculous. Meanwhile, it's a dude that's going to be playing this weekend that loves the synthetic stuff, the spice, the stuff that had you hallucinating and jumping out of damn windows. It's One Mic with Big Mike. I'm Big Mike. Be back on Friday. Don't forget you can catch the show and all the previous shows on Spreaker.com and the Spreaker app. Make sure you sign up for your free Spreaker account. And once you do that, follow my show. Tell your friends about it as well. The number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. Also, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at the same exact handle. And like my Facebook page, if you will. ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. That's going to do it for me. Catch you guys on Friday. Enjoy your Thursday, your Throwback Thursday. I got to start posting again on Throwback Thursday, man. Even if I'm not doing the show, I'll do that. Holler at you guys on Friday, man.